All right, let's do a relatively brief village tour that gives me the opportunity to practice breath control so I'm not umming and ahhing between every word, and practice my brevity as much as I can. So, this village is one that I've traveled to from my main future base in the Northeast, and I traveled here because I needed fancier tools to work with. And the best way to get fancy tools is to trade with specialist villagers. So I found this village and I decided to do the usual Minecrafter thing and basically modify it. Tear down the old, build up some new. So, first things first, this is a plains biome. You can tell this is relatively flat terrain with not too many changes in elevation. Contrast that with, for instance, that mountain right there, which has very steep changes in elevation, and this forest over there, which has greater changes in elevation and also dense tree cover, which makes it a lot harder to build on. So this is a pretty hospitable biome to build on. It doesn't require a lot of terraforming, and I'm trying to do as little of that as possible. I'll still flatten the terrain in certain bits to build larger buildings, but for the most part, I'll try to build in harmony with the existing terrain rather than in spite of it. And this is stepping a little bit outside my comfort zone. So first, I'm going to show off what I've built so far, which isn't much, but is kind of special for me because I don't generally do terribly well with changes in elevation. I'm usually good at building up medium-sized to large-sized buildings on flat terrain like you see up there. So the main thing that I've built up, and I still need to furnish it, I still need to populate it, is this right here. It's not quite subterranean because it's open to the sky, but it is also below ground level for the rest of the village. And this is the central exchange. This is basically going to be the primary marketplace for this village. It's going to house all sorts of specialist villagers. It's going to house an armor smith that trades armor, a toolsmith that trades tools, a weaponsmith that trades weapons. It's going to have some masons that buy and sell different types of stone, farmers that buy and sell food items. This is basically going to be my one-stop shop for getting fancy gear, getting food, and getting emeralds, which is the exchange currency with which to get fancy gear and food items. So this is separate, like this is a single unified building, but it's kind of separated into two parts. There's this smaller part right here. You'll see that the first floor is, it's roomy by Minecraft default standards. The only thing really bigger than this is a woodland mansion, but it's not huge. And then the second floor, when it's done, is going to wrap around the entire build except for here. So this is where this ends. Over there is where it begins anew. And then the rest of this is just a continuous oval around the bottom floor. This I've yet to excavate, but it connects to that part over there. So I've built these cozy little staircases that let you go from floor 1 to floor 2. And then outside is a bit of a terrace walkway where here I'll terraform this a little bit more to where this is more of an underpass. I might even have some shops along the side here. And then this right here gives you access to the mine, which is not very deep at the moment, but this is where I can go to get my stone, minerals, and the like. So basically, this place right here will be the central commercial hub of the village. Then up at the top on the surface level, there are going to be mostly residential dwellings with some shops interspersed just for flavor. Realistically, the residential dwellings will also be home to villagers you can trade with, but I won't be overly concerned with making sure that the villagers in the homes have like exactly the right trades that are needed. And I will also, possibly on that hill up there, or maybe in a more central location here in the village, have a grand library which will be my secondary market. So the reason for this is straightforward. These villagers right here, they have different professions. So these two up front are librarians. You can tell based on their badges that this one is diamond level, which is the highest. This one is emerald level, which is the second highest. And these other two villagers, if I can get to them, are a farmer and a toolsmith. And this is how their trading works if you're unfamiliar with Minecraft. So each villager has a profession block that they bind with. So this farmer, for instance, was an undifferentiated villager until I put down this composter. The farmer then basically attached to the composter and became a farmer. These two librarians are attached to these two lecterns, and this toolsmith is attached to this smithing table. So you can basically create villagers of any desired profession by putting down profession blocks, and then the nearest villager will come up to it, adopt a profession, and you can then trade with them. And the way villager trading works is like this. Each villager starts out with two trades when they're basically a beginner. And in this particular case, this one buys potatoes and he buys carrots. So he is a good source of emeralds, which is the general exchange currency for all villager trades. So if I generate large numbers of potatoes and carrots, which I do on the south side of town, I can sell them to this guy, get a lot of emeralds, and then I can use those emeralds to buy pumpkin pies, or cookies, or golden carrots, for instance, which is my primary food source. I can also use these emeralds with the toolsmith to purchase axes, hoes, enchanted iron gear over here, or enchanted diamond gear down here. And the more I trade with them, the more their experience bar will fill up. So you see this guy has an experience bar, which relies on me trading with him. And then when his experience bar fills up all the way, he'll go up a level and he'll unlock additional trades. So when he began, he just had these two, then he got these two, then these two, and then finally these two right here. And then if I get him all the way up to master, he'll get a final trade selling name tags. So the premise of villager trading is basically get enough villagers of the desired professions to buy easily generated renewable resources that you can farm, and to sell desired resources that you cannot farm or cannot farm easily. So the reason I need a standalone library is because there are a vast variety of enchantments which librarians can sell. So while I really only need one or two toolsmiths to sell every potential tool in the game, I will need easily a dozen to 2 dozen librarians to sell every enchantment I could possibly need for those tools, which is why all of the other professions can share that building down there, whereas librarians will need a dedicated building of their own, or if I were to put them in there, they would occupy a larger share of the building than all the other professions put together. So that's the plan for the village in the not too distant future. I'm also planning, as I mentioned, to erect some dwellings, maybe a mayor's house in a position of prominence. And then in the long run, I'd like to upgrade this wall to a stone wall, and maybe over time upgrade some of these. Well, this building I'm going to take down because it's a default building. I'm going to build a little bit fancier than this. But once I build up the dwellings, I might change them over time to maybe something more modern or something larger. We'll see how I feel over time. So this has been a brief overview of my village so far. There's not much built just yet, but I'm working on it, and I am especially pleased with this right here. Like, this isn't much, this isn't crazy or special or anything, but from my perspective as a flat terrain builder, this is a bit of an artistic leap for me. This is something that took a bit of overcoming natural instincts to build in my usual style. So I'm particularly pleased with this, and I'm looking forward to building up more of the village and showing off a more completed version of it at a later time.